Hey, welcome back to Mobility Project. I want to talk about knee pain going up and down the stairs. Now, I get a lot of athletes who say, hey, one of the complaints is, hey, I have knee pain going up and down stairs. Specifically, we can translate this into I have knee pain when I run downhill, which is a big gnarly issue. Now, one of the things we want to do is show the kind of primacy of what it is we do and how we move and how that translates. Now, for example, when I'm engaged in sports where I've got to keep my torso upright, then one of the things that happens is that I have two choices about what to do with my torso. I'm either going to keep my torso upright, or my knees, and I'm going to keep my torso upright, and I'm either going to load my kneecaps forward, which puts me into a low torque environment where I tend to look for stability. Oh, now I'm stable. Or, like most of the best jumpers, Olympic lifters, I jump with knee out, torso upright. Now, if I go to dunk a basketball or jump as high as I can, you're always going to see torso inclinate, verticalizes the shin, minimizes shear, puts most of the load here. The problem is I cannot hold diddly in this position. Now, if I have to keep my torso upright and I just translate forward, I'm back into a high knee shear, high patella loading environment. That's how the mechanism for jumpers need in a lot of our kids. So if I extrapolate this idea of push pressing, right, of jumping knees out, going up overhead, or even how Brian McKenzie tells me to run, I shouldn't be running on a line. I should be running with my feet underneath my hips. You'll see why we do that in a second. So let's say that if I use my model of kind of jumping, that means I'm going to walk upstairs like this, which is not really conducive to much stair climbing, especially since the demands of the torso are running uphill. So I shift into this position suddenly because this doesn't work either, right? To jam out and keep the shins vertical like a back squat. So stair climbing, for all intents and purposes, is like a front squat. So what do I got to do? As I go up the stairs, let me grab that. As I go up the stairs, what you're going to need to see is that my feet need to go out. Now, if I just take a step and I let my knee track over the middle of the toe, which is what we've always said, knees over toes, that doesn't account for the stability of the hip, that doesn't account for the tightness of the ankle, and I'm going to always end up with this knee translating far forward versus knee out to the side, means I can minimize that shear by verticalizing the shin, and keeping that vertical shin allows me to have more posterior chain stuff. Even going downstairs, it becomes, if I just walk downstairs and let my knee drift, whoa, I end up with this horrific shearing across the kneecap. So I'm going to hand this back to Adam. I don't think we flipped it upside down. All right, so you can see that as I walk up, come around behind me, buddy. As I walk up, I certainly don't need to be, walking up in some ridiculous position, but thinking about what is a reasonable jumping position, I walk up and leg goes out. Now I'm in a stable position. My torso upright, I've minimized shear across the knee, the shin's very vertical, and I can look for that stability without seeing lots of crazy knee forward running position. So as we run downhill, for example, we definitely need to be thinking about keeping the foot a little bit wider, like Brian McKenzie says, and pose running and all the CrossFit endurance stuff, and that I don't let the knee necessarily track forward. It actually needs to track outside a little bit. Does that make sense? Some ideas about taking shear out of the knee. Look, you need to be cultivating these positions all day long. Why? Because that's your view. That's a non sequitur on purpose. San Francisco CrossFit. There's the dream, the stairs. We'll see you guys tomorrow.